So I wanted to continue the hatred of black women health tips episode. I'm probably going to be doing health tips as, you know, I get the inclination to share some things that help me as a solitary witch. As you know, a gifted woman. A witch is also a woman who is gifted as well. So you know, some things that I do as a solitary person, as an artist, you know, as a dark-skinned black woman, you know, and some mysteries as Black High Priestess that have helped me. So I did talk about it in the upload earlier, the importance of essential oils and homeopathic remedies, how to muscle test. So I wanted to show you all some of the other oils that I used when continuing off of that episode, and I'll leave the link in the description. When I did get out of the hospital, when I was diagnosed with major depression years ago, instead of being on medication, I used holistic remedies, you know, spirituality, and the oils as well. So I talked about valor, and now I want to talk about one of the oils that helped me overcome depression as well. And clary sage is one, again, through muscle testing that I was prescribed, and also getting other forms of holistic tests that operate off of your electromagnetic energy and things like that, your synapses and your muscles. So again, this is clary sage, and clary sage has a pungent odor to it. It's still an oil, so it does still have that strong, potent smell, but there is a slight pungent aroma to it. It can be strong. And again, it can be offensive, and not in a way where it smells like excrement in any way. It just you know, has a very woody, mugworty, you know, mossy type of very, very earthy odor to it. So this one I applied, and I'm not going to apply it now just because I don't want it to interact with the valor that I put on in other things as well. Because again, these oils are topical and they're sensitive. Some of them you can consume, put them in your tea. You know, the oregano oil, for example, here is for my teeth. It goes with a mixture of oregano oil in purified water, baking soda, and peroxide for natural toothpaste. This clary sage is very potent, and if you do have skin allergies, I have eczema, so if you do have skin allergies, be careful with these oils where you put them. You know, if you put them here, you know, and it's very close to your face. The skin on your face is very sensitive, like skin in other parts is a lot more sensitive than, say, the skin on your elbow. All right? Again, clary sage, I don't know what my feet look like, but you would apply right here. And again, this is one of my calluses because I walk a lot. That's why I'm in shape, so I'm not ashamed of that. But you will apply here on this bone. I guess it's called a bunion, or I don't know what they call, but you know, here I apply it on my ankle, on this, again, this side of the foot, on your ankle. You can do it on this side too, but apply it on the ankle, on your feet, and rub it in your feet and your toes as well. So I just wanted to show y'all some of the places that I put the clary sage. And do be careful, because the clary sage, for my depression, I was using it on my feet every night. So after I get in the shower every night, or bathe, or, you know, just before you lay down, I would apply them to my feet. So be careful. If you don't sleep with socks on, you know what I'm saying, that oil can get over your sheets and things like that. And again, it can cause breakouts on your face and stuff. So I just want to stress the importance of the potency of these oils and putting them in the right place and making sure you don't cross-contaminate, so you don't have any unwanted breakouts. Now, I did mention the citrus oil. So this one is a citrus blend, but I would recommend grapefruit oil or orange oil to put under your armpit daily instead of deodorant, if you prefer to stick with these oils and you're huge on using the oils. This one is I'm going to use for that, and I may also use for my hot toddy. So I talked about apple cider vinegar, especially for our menstrual. So I want to talk about vitamins. Right now I'm taking Super B and vitamin D. And so I talked about this before, but, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen previous uploads, I call them the sun and the moon because of their colors. And again, we are having a super blood eclipse moon coming up. So this is the sun and the moon. Vitamin D and vitamin B is B is the white one, and or B is the sun, which is ironic because vitamin B is the color of the sun, and vitamin D, which you get from the sun, is the white one. But nonetheless, something that I take because I've always had digestion problems. I haven't necessarily had like a sensitive stomach, but I have always had digestion problems. So food enzymes, these are the kind that I use. And again, I get all of this stuff from my mom. She invests in this stuff. I get it from her. So these food enzymes, what food enzymes do is they counteract parasites by helping you digest the nutrients out of your food. Whereas if you have parasites, the parasites are actually eating the nutrients out of your food. So when you take enzymes, you're getting the most beneficial nutrients from your food and digesting those and making sure that anything wasteful gets excrement and anything useful gets used. And it helps break down the food properly as well for people who have digestion problems, especially dealing with gas, bloating. But on that topic, to help, again, this is psychological health. So these things will help with depression. These are natural cures instead of medication. And again, if you don't have access to a therapist, therapy is expensive, and quite frankly, you know, there's not many people you can trust in this day and age with your secrets and your sensitivity and your vulnerability. So that is something I'm going to speak about right now, since this is about the psyche of the Black woman and what we go through. Part of that psyche is being told that you're strong, being told that fainting and panic attacks and being weak is white femininity, and you're strong. And even if you're not, society treats you like you're a man. Society treats you like you're a beast of burden. Society, and I'm talking about women, dark-skinned Black women, you're often treated like a beast of burden, and Becky is often treated like something to put on a pedestal and not do any labor. Just save her for marriage. And again, this is specific to corporate America as well too. When you're in situations where, especially in a segregated city that I come from, where there is not many Black dark-skinned women with natural hair in positions of authority, nor are there Black men in positions of authority who defend the Black woman and the Black race. And a lot of times, if you're in a position of authority in corporate America, there's only so much you can do for Black people until you're on the chopping block. So, and that's for, you know, anyone, especially Black people, but white people, don't speak up often because they very well know the risk, that the social risk of supporting Black people. White people very well know what being a nigger lover, that lifestyle, and how it can affect their privileges. White men know being labeled a nigger lover will affect them. That's why a lot of white men, regardless of their actual love for Black women and admiration, they will not give up their social privileges to show the world or their society that they actually love a Black woman or a Black person if you are homosexual. But that is probably another topic at this point, because the homosexual agenda, not the orientation in itself, which, you know, I believe is everyone's business. I believe it is natural. And again, in African spirituality, it wasn't looked down upon. It was looked down upon to not procreate, not necessarily to be enamored with the same sex and have that type of bond. So the homosexual agenda has affected Black women in a severe way, because a lot of Black men are effeminized by culture, through the jail system, which I don't want to touch on too much, but the rape of the Black man, the castration of the Black man, and white male rape of the Black man, as well as white female, not rape, but white women benefiting from Black male sex slavery. Interracial dating, the propaganda of it, not the actual phenomenon of interracial love, which again, it is a phenomenon because of the society we're in, but not the phenomenon of interracial love, but the propaganda and the promotion of interracial dating. You know, a lot of that, a lot of it affects the Black woman, in terms of how Black men are effeminized. And when you go out into society and you actually see how Black masculinity has changed, not just in Hollywood, but at the ground level, you see how Black men lost their ability to relate to Black women, even if they're not homosexual. Black men who have gotten out of prison may have lost their ability to relate to the Black woman through indoctrination and homosexual indoctrination and sex slavery. So again, back to what I was saying about the interracial promotion, a lot of that still is about making the Black man and the Black woman sex slaves and beast of burden or baby making machines. So that culture of slavery, where the strongest Black men were bred with the most fertile and you know, strongest Black women, that created a certain wave of slaves, you know, in that intentional breeding, and that breeding. And again, I'm not saying that Africans were not always genetically dominant and have dominant genetic traits, but that breeding for the strength of having good stock slaves, and again, Black Friday being about selling slaves on the chopping block, that created the fear of Black masculinity. Because now you have a bunch of athletic, genetically dominant, dark-skinned, you know, genetically superior men running around America. And when you have abolishment, how do you control these men? Because now white men and women are terrified of what these men these genetically dominant, athletic, genetically superior men might do. So how do you get a genetically superior group of men and women to not revolt and to not treat you and go to war with you the way you did them? You implement propaganda, you implement Jim Crow, you implement false religion that happened during slavery, but you implement all these things. One of the main ones is literally castrating the man, literally locking him up. Again, let's not forget the police force started from hound dogs. Okay, so the police was originally the slave catchers who used bloodhounds to sniff out runaway slaves. That was the first police force. That was the first law and order in America. So when you talk about the racism of the police, remember, the whole idea of the police force started through slave catching runaway slaves. That system of law has taken away the masculine men who are threats to society from the black women in the communities who were relying on those men to be fathers and husbands and lovers and support system. Not to mention they were sons and brothers and uncles and cousins who were taken out of the lives of the families who were victimized by the murder. So mass incarceration, which is directly related to effeminizing the black men because they get raped in jail more often than not. So when you take that culture and force black men into a culture where they're disproportionately incarcerated compared to the ratio of white men, now you leave black women in a situation where they're relying on the government, and black women are socially advancing because there's no man to take on the responsibilities that typically white women have white men available to do. So they can remain feminine and not have to be a man and a woman, whether you're single or a mother. You are designed to have a counterpart and someone helping you in life. This affects black women. There is a lack of available husbands to choose from. There's a lack of available masculine support. And so when black men are mostly raised by single mothers, they grow up with very feminine qualities, very feminine mentalities, and very feminine traits. And a lot of this is why a lot of black women choose thugs, because a lot of the men who appreciate black women are still too effeminate to compensate and allow her to be feminine. Black women need that masculinity that was taken away. And when the black woman is over raising the men, they grow up to be very woman-like, very feminine. So when you have a generation of black women who are raised to be educated and go-getters and overachievers and do this and do that and be strong, but all the men are dead, homosexual, effeminate, or don't date black women because of Hollywood media. And because once you start making enough money to actually support a family, and once you get in these societies where you're making a certain figure a year, being with a dark-skinned black woman is directly affected to your ability to stay in that society. It's too much of a threat. The white elite supremacists do not want black men who still make more than women. Men still make more than women. This is why the black man is targeted, because he's still a man and he's easier to control. It's easier to get a man to abandon his child than it is to get a woman. It's always been easier to get the black man to abandon the black woman who has done everything for him than it is to get the black woman to abandon the black man, which she never has and never will. So, I think that was important to talk about this, why I'm talking about the psychological and the psyche of the black woman, because you're going into a world where a lot of, and I'm talking to black women who relate to me, black women who didn't have a father in the home, maybe dealt with abuse at a young age, have been in abusive relationships trying to support black men, have been, in white supremacist situations, and had to answer to white women or white men who were racist and refused to pay you what you were worth or give you the accolades that you earned. When you're trying to climb the social ladder when you come from poverty, and then you're also dark-skinned and you're not a sellout. And a lot of times I feel like maybe I should have sold out instead of pursued black revolution, because and here's another point. So again, sisters who are dealing with not having masculinity to protect and provide for you, and are dealing with these psycho-emotional issues based on some negative past experiences, stay close to water. Water is the element of the African, or the black family in the human race. So, Asians being air, Native Americans being earth, and Caucasians being fire, or albinos being fire. So, again, ladies, black women, make sure you are staying by water, and make sure you use water therapy to heal. Make sure you're using, again, audio pharmacology as well. So make sure you are seeking out some of these forms of healing that may not be that expensive or that you can find right in your community. But also, sisters, change the music you listen to. Today, on my way to see my mom, I saw 2 violinists, and they were getting it on the subway. And I wonder how many, black people have played an instrument. I grew up playing the violin. I learned how to play the violin in starting in 6th grade, and I continued it through early college. I don't have my violin with me now, so I can't practice, but I would recommend practicing your instrument. And if you have a background in music or the arts, invest time in that. Do not consume pop culture. Consume African media. Something I recommend watching is Bata Box. Watch Besoro. That is a movie that has the Orisha in it. Bata Box is a Nigerian channel, and they go around and ask people, things, and have some great topics, and it can get you acclimated to the West African culture as well. Listen to music that is spoken in African languages. Listen to drums. Stop consuming hip-hop music. And I would go so far as to say, don't invest in men who are deeply immersed in hip-hop and sports and certain entertainment industries, because they are very deeply programmed at a deep subconscious level to hate the black woman. And be careful of men who say they love black women. I'm not talking about men who post every day, all day, about how much they love black women. I'm not talking about men who are married. I'm not talking about men whose actions show that they are revolutionaries for the black woman. I'm talking about, be careful of these brothers who have very little spirituality, and little knowledge of African self, and go around saying they love black women. A lot of black men who say they love black women do not love black women. They love conquering black women. They love having sex with a black woman and feeling like they've conquered her the way a white man does. They love big, round bubble butts. They love thicker lips. They love dark skin. They love slanted eyes. They love the rhythm that a black woman can use sexually to get him off, that a lot of white women do not have. But do they love black women? No, they hate black women. And they love conquering you. Be careful, sisters, especially dark-skinned women. Be careful of black men who say they love black women. Don't listen to that. It's a lie that they tell a lot of times because they want to conquer you, because you're dark, and they want to make sure they can still relate to you. So they want to conquer you, and then they will move on to a white woman. Be very careful of black men who go around who will tell you that they love black women. Let his actions show that. If he loves black women, he will probably be married to a dark-skinned black woman, or he will be married to a black woman. So remember that that is an action. Be careful of black women who are in leadership positions. I would recommend sisters seeking out black women, you know, listening to black women, read, you know, check out Frances Cress Welsing again. But what I'm saying is be careful of women in competition with you. Perfect example, a dark-skinned sister was a security guard at this church. It had 7-7 on the doors, so I go by numerology, so I knew that that was a safe haven for me. So I could get out of the cold and wait for my bus to come. So, you know, there was no problem. It was a church. It was like some Methodist church, but it was in a building, so there was other units in the building. And so she comes and asks me what I'm, you know, this and that. I said I was just waiting a few minutes for the bus to come, and then she tried to kick me out. She tried to say that I couldn't wait there for the bus. And I was like, I explained to her, I'm just waiting a few minutes for the bus. I said, I can't wait in the heat instead of waiting outside in the cold. And mind you, it's a few degrees colder than it has been in the past few days. So again, she moseyed along, you know, after she realized, like, this is a church facility and I can't wait in this heated, fancy lobby for a few minutes for a bus. Again, another dark-skinned woman. But again, when you're downtown, you are in the Matrix. You are in the Matrix when you are downtown Chicago. Never forget that. That is the Matrix. So when you're black, no matter who, when you're black, you are going to be treated a certain way. There are maneuvers, there are programs, there are agents set in place. Just how the Matrix, people will get infected with the agency of white supremacy and try to maneuver you. Like, you know, if you are of Zion. So after I dismissed her, down comes another dark-skinned sister, and she was on the phone saying, you know, waiting on a ride or whatever, and she had left an attorney's office. That's how I know there was other units in the building. And me and her struck up a conversation, and we started talking about how people are on their phones too much and people need to get off the phones and interact, and we had a great conversation. And she was waiting in the lobby too. So it's like, what I'm saying is a lot of black women don't have sisterhood. They have been in survival mode for so long, and a lot of black women use competing with other black women as a form of surviving in America. I don't blame black women for that, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to elevate black women, and I've had to compete, you know, but when I've chosen not to compete, you know, with sisters who were competing with me, you know, I won't say I've lost opportunities, but I will say that sisters, when you are dealing with other black women, when you're dealing with that tokenism and there's another dark-skinned woman trying to compete with you, or there's another black woman in the situation that you're in, and instead of showing sisterhood, she meets you with the competition, I would say take that as an opportunity to show your sisterhood. Maybe you can show her something that she's never experienced. She might always only experience competition from other black women, you know, regardless of skin color. But take it as an opportunity. Always stay true to yourself, sisters, but, you know, continue to be nice to one another. Because you never know what a black woman's going through and why she sees you as a threat. Again, like I said, black men are taken out of our communities. So there's a lot of black women who are in you know, in unfavorable romantic or, you know, conditions or social conditions simply because of their skin color or because of how they look. Simply because they're black, because we're black. Seek out the female voice. Sisters, if you want to listen to advice on finding a good mate, read the Bible. It explains clearly how we were created and how we were designed to interact with each other as male and female. I would not suggest listening to religion. I would suggest reading the Bible yourself. Again, the Bible is constructed for slavery, but there is a lot of good morals and principles that Black women need to return to. Be careful of other Black women who are leading you into sexual deviancy, because that is the path that they chose. Black women, I do not recommend motherhood before marriage. I do not recommend you becoming a mother before marriage. That is why Black women are in the conditions now, because of the sexual deviancy of our race, which is directly related to us being bred together, and directly related to the media that shows the Black man as a hypersexually aggressive man and shows the Black woman as a, you know, a sexually deviant perpetual mother. So seek out Black women who have your best interest in mind. Don't listen to Black women who want to lead you in an unfavorable romantic position that they themselves are in. Because you got some Black women out here, well, they'll preach about the importance of Black women and being united, and preach about, you know, the importance of holding Black men accountable. But they are not actually sisters, because the moment that it's time to show their sisterhood, they will actively compete with another sister just to maintain their position, instead of show that they are welcoming of all different forms of Black femininity that must unite under one banner. Me as Black High Priestess, my mission is to unite the chosen few and to reestablish balance by elevating the Black woman who is the most oppressed through religious propaganda. I'm going to cut it short right now. I hope I gave enough help tips that I touched on. I did talk about going in nature, listening to good natural music, listening to music with foreign languages, and sisters, especially women who are Black women who are waking up from Christianity and Catholicism and starting to wake up. I'm here for you. I am here for the Black woman who believes in the Bible and was raised on the Bible, but knows that it has eliminated her presence and is looking to find goddess worship through divinity. I'm here for you, okay? You know, I have the mysteries of femininity from the Bible. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. So, you know, my gifts are directly related to what the Bible talks about. And there are gifted women in the Bible, and some of the texts may not be in the modern Bible, but there is feminine African spirituality. And the Council of Nicaea took out the African principles and the feminine principles and only left white masculinity in the Bible. That's why a lot of it is false, especially in the New Testament. So Black women, although this movie is whitewashed and is another depiction of white femininity, whitewashing what was originally women who looked like me but even darker because they were from the Bible, I will recommend watching the Red Tent film. And the Red Tent film will, and it's a 4-hour movie, and it is a Bible movie, and it talks about the story of Dinah in the Bible. Great story, but it will thrust you back into your femininity and your divinity that God created you with, that religion tried to make evil. But remember, Black woman, you are the original woman. You are the original Jew. And that includes having hair. Mary Magdalene could not have white Jesus hair, or Mary could not have white Jesus feet with oil unless her hair texture was equal to mine. Did you hear me? I said Mary in the Bible could not have wiped Jesus' feet with perfumed oil unless her hair texture was equal to mine. Do you want to know how I know? Because I use my locks to dry my hands when they're wet all the time. When I'm out in public and I wash my hands out in the bathroom, I can use my hair to dry my hands. That's one of the benefits of being a genetically dominant person. You may not have social privileges, but you certainly have spiritual ones, and genetic ones. And, you know, one of them is rhythm. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's not always skin deep. The way you interact with the sun, the way you interact with a drum beat, you know, the way you are able to use words and language, all of these things originate with the original human. And whether you be albino or, you know, as dark as can be, if you have the dominant genetic traits, you will be able to interact with nature the way God intended. All right, I will cut it short now. I will do another part about Black women's psyche, but I hope this information gave you all some things to think about, and I hope the solutions are some things that people can use. And I hope anyone who's not a dark-skinned Black woman listening to this will, you know, think about, again, how you treat the dark-skinned Black woman with natural hair, or with kinky hair or locks in your life, in your social circle, and how well you can relate to dark-skinned Black women with kinky hair who are spiritually activated, or whether or not you are repelled by that voodoo energy. Peace and love.